We are in Pennsylvania tonight for America's election headquarters, where the battle for a U.S. Senate seat may be a harbinger of things to come this election season. Chief political correspondent Carl Cameron tells us why.
The GOP sees a 2010 campaign trailblazer in Pennsylvania Republican U.S. Senate candidate Pat Toomey for his attacks on Democratic rival Joe Sestak's spending votes in Washington.
I opposed all the bailouts. Joe Sestak voted for all the bailouts.
Republicans hope to make the Democrats' bailout and spending votes a galvanizing national issue this year. An ex-congressman and fiscal hawk who ran the conservative Club for Growth, Toomey has a 6-point lead in the latest poll, just outside the margin over Joe Sestak in Pennsylvania. Nationally, the Gallup poll says more voters would prefer a Republican instead of a Democrat for Congress. It's been like that all year. Sestak, a two-term congressman, did vote for the first $700 billion bank bailout in 2008. $105 billion for Detroit, $787 billion for the first stimulus, the president's $3.5 trillion budget, cash for clunkers, another $154 billion stimulus, $2 trillion for health care, and a new $14 trillion debt limit. Sestak's now sponsoring a new bill in Congress for taxpayers to bail out home mortgages.
It's just not fair to force homeowners who've been working hard, who've made sacrifices, who've lived modestly, who've paid their bills, who are paying their mortgage, to tell them now, by the way, you have to pay someone else's mortgage too.
Sestak unapologetically defends his proposals and record as pro-little guy. But despite sharing his party's enthusiasm for bailouts, Sestak's still on the outs for defeating the White House and Democratic Party-backed incumbent Arlen Specter for the nomination. Sestak's not gotten significant money or support since from Washington, leaving him basically on his own against the better-funded and organized Toomey.
Congressman Toomey wants to run away from his record. When he went to Washington, D.C., he voted with George Bush.
Sestak says Toomey's support for deregulation and the Bush tax cuts when he was in Congress and subsequent opposition to increased government spending as the leader of the pro-business Club for Growth proves his allegiance is not to Main Street.
He wants to hide a record that's always been on the side of Wall Street and always will be.
But Toomey has polls and a fat war chest on his side. He raised $3 million last quarter, which will likely dwarf Sestak's haul. The top GOP fundraiser, however, goes to Marco Rubio of Florida, who raised